1,050 years ago, the last rays of the autumn sun fell upon the cliff's edge. After my daily dip in water with my dear friends the fish, I stretched out on the riverbank to hail the other riparian dwellers. The heron, still and patient, the kingfisher and the falcon, masters of the air, as I am the mistress of the waves. As I enjoyed the stream's laziness and the serenity emanating from this place, I felt the warmth of somebody's gaze lingering on my shoulders. Several meters upstream, a noble knight marveled at my sight. A few days later, before the trees shed all their leaves, he began to woo me. The first snowflakes had not yet buried the hilltop on the white coat when I had already accepted Count Siegfried's proposal. Our union would take place on one condition. Under no circumstance should he ever attempt to see me on a Saturday. Passion and tenderness shaped our first years together. Siegfried built his castle, developed his city, and called it Luxembourg, which would eventually become Luxembourg. Although he remained intrigued, he never tried to spy on me during the days I spent alone in my quarters. One day, however, tortured by curiosity, he broke his promise. Upon peeking through the keyhole, he spotted my long fishtail while I was bathing. Faced with his betrayal, filled with disappointment and deeply hurt, I decided to flee and to never see Siegfried again, despite my love for him. I took refuge once more in my dear river, where I have been hiding ever since, far from men's unfaithful eyes. Thus, I have spent the last 1,000 years observing my city. I have been witness to its development and blossoming throughout the centuries. I have seen it suffer the worst ordeals and live its greatest moments. In 1244, the Countess Ermesinde granted the inhabitants of the city civil liberties. Since the year 1320, I have observed soldiers and builders laboring to fortify the Ville Haute. The fortifications of the Ville Basse were built in my valley after Luxembourg became a duchy in 1354. As the fortress was taken in 1443 by Philip the Good's Burgundian troops, the city of Luxembourg joined in the European power struggle. In 1447, the city, together with all Burgundian possessions, was given to the Habsburgs of Austria. In 1542, the French troops of Francis I captured the fortress and, in doing so, destroyed Neumunster Abbey. It was then that the Grand welcomed the first Benedictine monks, who in 1606 laid the foundation for Neumunster Abbey on the shore of the river Alzette. Since then, my baths have been accompanied by their prayers, their chanting and litanies. The fortress was once again taken in 1554, this time by imperial troops. After the siege of 1684 imposed by Louis XIV, French troops conquered the fortress once more, this time under Vauban's command. It was during these battles that the abbey was tragically destroyed by fire. Louis XIV, known as the Sun King, financed the reconstruction of Neumunster Abbey, perhaps because he was afraid of God's wrath. Following the French victory, Vauban constructed large fortifications employing over 3,000 builders in the process. I watched as incredible machines lifted stones, dug holes and erected walls. The Treaty of Ryswick and the peace that ensued left the city in the hands of the Spanish administration in 1698. They built impressive turrets known as espagnolettes, which are still visible to this day. The Spanish were soon to be replaced by the French, who took over once more in 1701. Then, following the Treaty of Utrecht in 1713, the Dutch took over for a period of 2 years, before the Austrian troops retook possession of the fortress in 1715, in whose hands it would remain for the next 80 years. During this long period of peace, I saw the familiar scenery change as deep dark eyes pierced the face of the cliff, creating the openings to the casemates. The city found itself once again surrounded by impressive defensive points, the cliff opening itself up to kilometers of underground tunnels and niches, which were perfectly adapted to keep the enemy at bay. However, in 1796, neither the tunnels, nor the reinforcements, nor the casemates could resist the revolutionary fervor of the French troops, who succeeded once again in acquiring the Gibraltar of the North. Luxembourg would remain under French rule in the Département des Forêts until after Napoleon's defeat at Waterloo. The monks soon departed, and I watched as the first prisoners who would come to live in these walls arrived. Locks slamming, cannons being fired, weapons being readied. After the country gained independence, thanks to the Treaty of London in 1839, the former abbey, former barracks, and former prison became the military hospital for the Prussian garrison. From its corridors, chambers, and courts, I could hear new clamors. Then, following another international treaty, the Prussians having packed their bags, chambers once again became cells, curtains became steel bars, nurses became guards, walls became prisons. From 1869 to 1985, the former abbey would pursue a single objective: incarceration. During this period, 5 years would prove to be the darkest, most tragic, and atrocious of all. It was during these 5 years that the Nazi occupiers would lock up 3,500 deserters, protesters, political prisoners, strikers, Democrats, patriots, and simple citizens who had revolted against their inhumanity. Nazi soldiers' barks, insults, and bellowed orders resonated like the crack of a whip. Prisoners' screams of protest, horror, and desperations. Dogs barking, cell doors slamming, but also silent encouragement and whispered thanks. Such was the painful concert that arose from these walls and haunted my dreams. But since the end of this conflict, since the newfound peace and European reunification, I've had the pleasure of watching my beloved city greatly open up. Today, where military defense points once towered, bridges now stand as welcoming arms open to the world. The battlements, turrets, espagnolettes, and rocky foothills have become places for quiet summer strolls and now serve to welcome friends. Here, upon my riverbank, the former prison and former abbey, where for decades men have suffered and persecuted, artists and those committed to cultural development strive to offer welcome change. What an extraordinary change of circumstance for the old bricks of the abbey. They have now become stepping stones to freedom. Henceforth, I am no longer afraid for my dear old city. This is why tonight I reveal myself to you, in wishing you the warmest of welcomes to this generous but fierce, welcoming but unyielding, singular but plural, multiple yet unique city, multiple as in the diversity of the people that populate it, and multiple as the languages they speak. It is in Luxembourgish, which became our national language in 1984, that I will take my leave tonight. Liebe Freunde, ich wünsche euch einen agreeablen Aufenthalt heute zu Lützeburg und hoffe, euch oft in der Zukunft hier willkommen zu heißen.